I found a mythical spaceship at auction. They were about to scrap it. A small-time salvage expert, he spent his life digging through abandoned stations, derelict ships, and broken satellites, hoping to find something valuable enough to pay for the next meal. Most days, the job left him tired, dirty, and frustrated. But today was different. Today, the rumors might be true. The orbital station hovered silently above the edge of the Epsilon cluster, a forgotten place where corporations dumped the ships they no longer wanted. Its walls were coated with dust and faded paint, and the hum of old machinery filled the air like a low, constant heartbeat. The auction hall was packed with buyers, speculators, thieves, and collectors, all waiting for scraps of tech they could flip for a profit. Eli pushed through the crowd, scanning the floor for anything that might be worth his time. Ships of all sizes sat on display. Freighters missing engines, fighters with cracked hulls, old drones waiting for repair. Most were junk, but Eli had learned long ago that even junk could hide treasure if you looked carefully. Then at the far end of the hall he saw it. It was unlike anything else there. The ship was huge, easily 3 times the size of the largest freighter on the auction floor. Its hull shimmered faintly under the dim lights, not painted but seemingly alive, as if the metal itself had grown over centuries. Smooth curves and sharp edges blended seamlessly, making it look elegant and terrifying at the same time. The name engraved near the command bridge caught his eye, the Aegis. Eli froze. He had heard stories about this ship when he was a boy, myths really. The Aegis was said to have fought off an alien armada single-handedly hundreds of years ago, protecting human colonies at the far edge of explored space. Many thought it had been lost forever, swallowed by a black hole or dismantled by humans afraid of its power. And yet here it was, sitting on a platform like a piece of scrap metal about to be auctioned to the highest bidder, or worse, cut up for parts. He pushed closer, trying to make out details. The hull had strange markings that seemed to glow faintly when he looked directly at them. Docking hatches were sealed shut, but he could sense that inside, something was still alive. Maybe it was a computer system, or maybe something else. The stories had always hinted at an intelligence beyond human design, an AI that could think and plan, a mind capable of understanding humans like no other machine ever could. The auctioneer's voice cut through his thoughts. Next up, Lot 237, the Aegis. This is a rare, historic vessel, rumored to contain technology far beyond modern understanding. Starting bid, 10 million credits. A murmur ran through the crowd. 10 million credits wasn't much for some, but for most, including Eli, it was an impossible sum. Still, he had to try. He had come too far to walk away. The bidding began. Men and women with sleek suits and arrogant smiles started shouting numbers, each higher than the last. Eli clenched his fists. He didn't have that kind of money. But he had something even more valuable: cunning, persistence, and a deep understanding of human behavior. As the auction climbed past 30 million, Eli spotted a pattern. The wealthy bidders were confident, assuming that the Aegis was just an expensive curiosity. They didn't realize that the ship itself had a personality and that the right person could unlock its secrets without spending fortunes. Eli took a deep breath and raised his paddle. 42 million, he called, his voice steady. The room quieted for a moment. Some laughed, thinking it an amateur's mistake. Others hesitated, unsure if they had heard correctly. The bidding continued, but Eli kept his strategy subtle. He made small, deliberate increases, never too much, never too little. Slowly, the larger bidders grew frustrated, thinking someone else was playing games with them. Frustration turned to impatience, and impatience often led to mistakes. Finally, the auctioneer slammed his gavel. Sold! The hall erupted in shock. Eli had done it. Somehow he had claimed the Aegis for himself. Eli's heart raced as he stepped toward the ship. Security guards followed, ready to ensure payment and proper handling. But Eli didn't care about the formalities. He needed to see the ship from the inside, to touch its controls, to feel whether the legends were true. The hatch opened with a hiss, revealing a dimly lit interior that smelled faintly of ozone and something else, something ancient. The walls were lined with alien materials that seemed to shift under the light, almost breathing. Eli stepped inside cautiously. At first, the ship was silent. Then, without warning, a soft voice echoed in his mind. Human detected, intent unclear, access authorized, curiosity. Eli stumbled back, his pulse hammering. The AI, if that's what it was, spoke to him directly, bypassing speakers or screens. The voice was calm, patient, but with an undertone of ancient wisdom. I didn't mean to," Eli stammered, unsure if he should answer. "Your presence is noted. You are different. Most humans approach with fear or greed. You approach with caution and resolve." Eli's eyes widened. This was no ordinary ship. This was the Aegis itself, alive in a way humans rarely understood. The myths weren't just stories. They were warnings, hints that the ship chose its partners, its pilots, carefully. He spent hours exploring the command deck, touching panels that lit up under his fingers, holographic displays showing star maps of regions humans hadn't even charted yet. Controls moved as if anticipating his thoughts, responding to instinct rather than explicit commands. He could feel the ship learning him, adjusting to his style. By the time the auction hall cleared out, Eli had made a decision. He wasn't just going to salvage the Aegis. He was going to awaken it, master it, and find out why it had been waiting, hidden for centuries. Outside, the sun of a distant star glinted off the ship's hull. Eli felt a thrill he hadn't felt since childhood, a sense of possibility, of adventure, of destiny. He had found the mythical ship everyone else had given up on, and now it was his. But even as he prepared for the first jump, a shadow moved in the station's observation bay. Others had noticed the ship too, and not all of them were humans. Somewhere in the depths of space, eyes or sensors were watching, waiting. And they didn't like that the Aegis had awakened again. Eli didn't know it yet, but this was just the beginning. The galaxy, vast and full of danger, was about to notice humanity in a way it never had before. And for the first time, Eli felt the weight of that responsibility and the exhilaration of what lay ahead. As the ship's engines hummed softly, almost like a purr, Eli whispered to himself, "Let's see what you've been hiding all these years." And somewhere deep within the core of the Aegis, the ship seemed to smile. Eli Voss had never flown a ship like the Aegis. He had piloted freighters, salvaged old fighters, and even tested alien prototypes, but nothing prepared him for this. The moment he stepped onto the bridge, a calm energy seemed to fill the room. Lights along the walls pulsed softly, almost like a heartbeat, and panels shimmered in colors he couldn't name. "Where do we go first?" he asked aloud, unsure if the ship even needed words to respond. A gentle, almost melodic voice filled the air, not from speakers, but from inside his mind. "Pilot detected. Initiative authorized. Destination unknown. Recommendation, charting unknown sectors will reveal purpose." Eli froze. You talk to me, directly." "Yes, I am the Aegis. I recognize humans capable of adapting beyond expectation." Eli laughed nervously. "Well, that's new." The ship hummed in agreement. "New is necessary. Survival is necessary. You have proven both." Despite his nervousness, Eli felt a strange thrill. The Aegis wasn't just a machine. It was alive, aware, and curious. And for the first time in his life, Eli felt like he wasn't just another human trying to survive in a vast galaxy. He was part of something greater. He activated the navigation controls, feeling the ship respond before his hands even moved. Holomap projections floated in front of him, showing stars, nebulae, and planetary systems he had only seen in old human records. Some systems were labeled with ancient glyphs, glowing faintly. "These are uncharted territories," the Aegis said. "Long hidden, dangerous, potentially inhabited." Eli's excitement grew. Dangerous meant opportunity. Uncharted meant adventure. And inhabited, well, he hoped it wasn't the kind of inhabitants that ate humans. He plotted a course toward one of the nearest uncharted systems. As the Aegis powered up its engines, Eli noticed something odd. The hum of energy through the hull wasn't steady, it shifted with his emotions. When he felt nervous, the ship's pulse slowed. When he relaxed, it accelerated. It was as if the vessel itself could sense him, understand him. "Okay," Eli muttered, gripping the console. "Let's see what you've got." The ship shot forward in a blink, leaving the auction station behind. Stars stretched into long lines, and space became a blur. Eli felt weightless and powerful all at once, a feeling he would never forget. Hours passed, though time seemed different on board. The Aegis shared its knowledge slowly, revealing its history in flashes. Images of battles, fleets destroyed, human colonies saved, and alien armadas retreating in fear. Each image burned in Eli's mind, leaving him awed and slightly terrified. Then suddenly the calm was broken. The ship shuddered violently, warning lights flashed. "Unknown vessels approaching," the Aegis warned. "Hostile, immediate evasive action advised." Eli's heart jumped. "Hostile here, but this system is supposed to be empty." They are not human. They are descendants of the Zyrith fleet. They seek the Aegis. The Zyrith. Legends described them as a warlike species, a remnant of the aliens the Aegis had fought centuries ago. Most humans had never encountered them, and the few who had survived to tell stories spoke of fleets that moved like predators, cold and precise, and ships that could tear freighters apart with a single strike. Eli's stomach turned, but he didn't panic. Panic was useless. He had the Aegis, and he had human ingenuity. "Okay, let's try something," he said. He flipped switches at random, guided more by instinct than logic. To his amazement, the ship responded perfectly, twisting and weaving through the asteroid field that suddenly appeared between them and the Zyrith vessels. "Your unpredictability is effective," the Aegis said. "Most humans would panic or flee. You adapt." Eli grinned. "That's what humans do. We improvise." Bullets of energy streaked past the hull and explosions lit the darkness around them. The Zyrith attacked with relentless precision, expecting predictable movements. But Eli's style, fast, erratic, human, confused them. The Aegis seemed to learn from his actions, predicting enemy attacks even before Eli realized them himself. Minutes felt like hours. Every movement required split-second thinking. Eli dodged, countered, and improvised, feeling a surge of confidence with every maneuver. For the first time, he realized the truth of the legends. Humanity didn't just survive because of strength or technology. Humans survived because of creativity, courage, and the ability to do the unexpected. Finally, the Zyrith ships disengaged, retreating into the shadows of space. Eli exhaled, legs trembling. He had survived. Not just survived, but outsmarted a species built for war. "You did well," the Aegis said. "Your mind, your instinct, your will, you are compatible with my design." Eli felt a swell of pride. "Compatible, huh? Guess that means we're partners now." The Aegis pulsed softly, almost like a nod. "Yes, partners, we will uncover the purpose of your species together." Eli spent the next hours exploring the ship further. Deep corridors opened into chambers filled with technology he had never seen. Weapons that hummed with energy, shields that could fold space itself, and pods that seemed to record and store memories from centuries past. He discovered the crew quarters first, though crew was a misnomer. The Aegis had once been piloted by a mix of humans and AI entities, each long gone. Eli felt a strange connection to them, as if their courage and determination had been passed down through the ship itself. In one chamber, he found logs of the last battle the Aegis had fought, a massive engagement with the Zyrith fleet. Humans had been cornered, outnumbered, and outgunned. But through clever maneuvers, ingenuity, and sheer will, they had turned the tide. Eli realized then that what made the Aegis legendary wasn't its weapons. It was the humans who had flown it. Their unpredictability, creativity, and spirit had made the difference. That realization struck Eli deeply. The Aegis wasn't just a ship to be salvaged. It was a reminder that humans, though small and fragile, could accomplish the impossible when they refused to give up. As he moved deeper into the ship, he discovered a room that seemed to respond to thought alone. Holograms appeared when he approached, displaying constellations, planets, and strange symbols. He tried to reach out, and the holograms shifted, forming patterns he instinctively understood. "The mind guides the vessel," the Aegis said. "You have potential. You can unlock systems even I have not accessed for centuries." Eli felt a thrill. This was more than adventure. This was discovery. This was a chance to prove that humanity, flawed, unpredictable, and fragile, could rise to meet any challenge. But the excitement was tempered by reality. The Zyrith would not forget the Aegis. Somewhere in the darkness, fleets were gathering. The first encounter had been a warning, not a fight. And yet, Eli didn't feel fear, not the kind that paralyzed. He felt determination, courage, and the spark that had allowed humans to survive for millennia. "We'll need allies," the Aegis said. "Other humans, those willing to adapt and fight. Only together can we face what is coming." Eli nodded. "Then we'll find them. We'll show them what humans can do when they refuse to give up." He spent the rest of the day learning the ship's systems, practicing maneuvers, and exploring hidden chambers. The Aegis guided him, but never too much. It allowed him to make mistakes, to think, to learn. Each lesson was a reminder that humans could achieve the impossible when pushed to their limits. As the artificial sun of a nearby star reflected off the ship's hull, Eli realized that this was only the beginning. The Aegis had awakened, and with it, a legend that had waited centuries to meet a human worthy of its trust. And Eli knew, deep in his bones, that he was ready. For the first time, he didn't just feel lucky. He felt unstoppable. The stars stretched endlessly before Eli as the Aegis glided through the uncharted sector. His hands hovered over the controls, but he barely needed them. The ship moved as if it had a mind of its own, anticipating every maneuver before Eli could even think it. He had learned quickly that the Aegis didn't just respond, it adapted. It learned from him just as he learned from it. Together, they were a team unlike any the galaxy had ever seen. But Eli couldn't ignore the warning that had been echoing in his mind ever since the first encounter with the Xy'rith. Somewhere out there, forces were gathering. And unlike the isolated patrols he had dodged before, these were not small raids. This was a fleet, a massive, disciplined, and deadly fleet that had one goal: reclaim the Aegis. Eli studied the holomap projected in front of him. "How many?" he asked. "At least 30 vessels. Capital ships included, and more will join them," the Aegis replied. "They recognize the vessel's significance. They will not stop until it is in their hands." Eli's stomach tightened. He had survived ambushes before, but 30 vessels. It was impossible by any conventional measure, but he was human, and humans thrived in impossibility. "Then we'll have to be smarter," Eli said, determination hardening his voice. "We'll outthink them." The Aegis pulsed, almost like approval. "Unpredictability will be your greatest weapon. Humans are capable of improvisation. This fleet is not prepared for it." Eli grinned. That was what humans did best. They were chaotic, inventive, impossible to predict. And the Aegis made that chaos a weapon. Hours later, they reached the edge of a dense asteroid field. Eli saw the Xy'rith fleet advancing, their ships gleaming coldly in the starlight, moving with mechanical precision. He could almost hear them thinking, calculating, expecting humans to make mistakes. "Time to make mistakes on our terms," Eli muttered. He guided the Aegis into the asteroid field, weaving between massive rocks, looping through narrow tunnels, and darting into caverns too small for most of the Xy'rith ships. The aliens pursued, but their numbers made them rigid. They had patterns, formations, strategies, and Eli was about to break every one of them. "Your intuition is valuable," the Aegis said, its voice calm. "It will amplify the effectiveness of our defenses." The first Xy'rith vessel tried to ram the Aegis, firing its energy cannons. Eli twisted the ship at the last second, dodging the blast. He hit a nearby asteroid with a thruster burst, sending a shower of rocks cascading toward the pursuers. Several Xy'rith ships were smashed instantly, torn apart by debris they hadn't accounted for. Eli laughed. "See, that's human ingenuity." "Yes," the Aegis replied. "Unpredictable, effective, they will adapt slowly. We have an advantage." More Xy'rith ships pressed in, relentless. Eli could feel the adrenaline pumping through him, his mind sharp, every sense focused. He guided the Aegis through twisting asteroid tunnels, using gravitational pulls and narrow escapes to scatter and confuse the enemy. The fleet fractured under his unpredictable maneuvers, turning what should have been a massacre into a game of cat and mouse. But just as Eli felt confident, a deeper problem emerged. The Xy'rith had deployed war drones, small, agile ships designed to track and disable the Aegis engines. One drone latched onto the hull, sending an electric pulse that rippled through the bridge. Warning lights flashed red. "This is new technology," the Aegis said, analyzing rapidly. "Countermeasures must be improvisational." Eli's mind raced. He grabbed a manual override lever, something he had barely touched before. With a surge of instinct, he rerouted energy from the shields to the thrusters, creating a sudden burst that flung the drone into a cluster of asteroids. It exploded violently, scattering debris that narrowly missed him. "Human ingenuity again," he said with a grin, wiping sweat from his brow. The battle raged on for hours, Eli and the Aegis dancing through the asteroid maze, turning every threat into an opportunity. The Xy'rith adapted slowly, but not fast enough. Their rigid strategies could not account for a human who thought outside the pattern, who used instinct and improvisation as weapons. As the fight wore on, Eli realized something. He couldn't win this battle alone. Even with the Aegis, one human could only do so much. He needed allies, other humans willing to fight, willing to improvise, willing to trust that unpredictability could triumph over raw power. He sent encrypted signals to nearby human colonies, warning them of the Xy'rith advance and calling for volunteers. Many ignored him, scared of the alien threat. Some refused, thinking one man with a legendary ship was enough, but a few answered. Small fleets of human ships began to move toward him, guided by desperation, courage, and the spark that had always defined humanity. Allies are arriving, the Aegis said. We can coordinate. Together we can create a strategy beyond the Xyrath's prediction. Eli nodded. Then let's show them what humans can do. Using the asteroid field, the Aegis and the small human fleets began a series of ambushes. The humans, unpredictable and daring, used tactics the Xyrath had never encountered. Decoy ships, coordinated feints, and risky maneuvers that no machine could calculate. Each strike weakened the enemy fleet, spreading confusion and panic. For the first time, Eli realized that humans didn't need advanced alien technology to triumph. Their strength lay in creativity, courage, and the willingness to take risks others deemed impossible. They could improvise solutions that machines, and even warlike aliens, couldn't anticipate. Then came the worst moment. One of the human commanders, a pilot named Lyra Dane, betrayed them. She had thought humanity wasn't ready for the Aegis power, and she tried to hijack the ship using a signal jammer, attempting to force Eli to surrender it to her. Eli felt a surge of anger, but he didn't panic. Betrayal was another human variable, one that required improvisation. Using the Aegis, adaptive systems, he created a feedback loop in the signal, turning Lyra's own hijack attempt into a temporary shield. She couldn't control the ship, and Eli used the moment to outmaneuver her, forcing her to retreat. Human unpredictability extends to allies as well, the Aegis said softly. You handled it. Eli exhaled. Weird family we have, he muttered, shaking his head. The final phase of the battle approached. The Xyrath fleet, though weakened, had gathered near the center of a massive nebula, a dangerous region where sensors and communications faltered. Eli knew the final confrontation would be chaotic. It was a risk, but humans thrived in chaos. He led the Aegis and the human allies into the nebula, using its swirling gas and magnetic storms as cover. Energy blasts lit up the dense clouds as the fleet engaged in a desperate, unpredictable fight. Eli guided the Aegis through gravity wells and plasma pockets, dodging attacks with impossible precision. Humans on the supporting ships executed daring maneuvers that machines could not calculate, striking at blind spots and using the nebula itself as a weapon. Step by step, the Xyrath fleet collapsed under a tide of human ingenuity. Ships that had seemed unstoppable moments ago were destroyed or forced to retreat. The Aegis in Eli's hands became the spearhead of a movement proving that humans could adapt, improvise, and triumph against overwhelming odds. Finally, the last Xyrath capital ship disengaged, limping away, its crew shaken and confused. Eli and the Aegis hovered in the center of the nebula, battered but victorious. You have succeeded, the Aegis said, its voice proud. You have demonstrated the defining quality of your species, unpredictability, courage, and resilience. This fleet underestimated humanity. Eli leaned back in his chair, exhausted but exhilarated. He could feel the ship vibrating gently beneath him, almost like a living being satisfied with a job well done. He had survived impossible odds, outsmarted a superior force, and proven that humans, small, fragile, and unpredictable, could still hold power in the galaxy. He sent a signal to the remaining human colonies. The message was simple. We are not alone. We are stronger than you know. Join us. Humanity fights together. For the first time, he felt that humanity's true potential was being realized. It wasn't advanced weapons, AI, or numbers that mattered most. It was courage. It was creativity. It was unpredictability, the very essence of being human. The Aegis pulsed around him, almost like a heartbeat of approval. Together, they had changed the game. Together, they had shown that the galaxy had underestimated humans for the last time. And Eli knew the Xyrath would return. But now he and the Aegis, and the humans who would follow, were ready. For the first time in centuries, humanity had a chance to stand against the impossible and win. Eli Voss stared out into the glittering chaos of the galactic battlefield. The Xyrath fleet had returned, larger and more relentless than ever. Dozens of capital ships surrounded the nebula where the Aegis and its small human allies had taken position. Energy beams streaked across the void, and explosions lit the darkness like fireworks gone wrong. This is bad, muttered Eli, though his tone carried determination rather than fear. Probability of survival alone, low, the Aegis replied. Probability with coordinated human unpredictability, significantly higher. Eli nodded. He had learned one thing over the past days. Humans were strongest when they worked together, when they trusted their instincts, and when they refused to give up. It wasn't just the Aegis power. It was human ingenuity, courage, and adaptability that could turn the impossible into possible. He looked around the bridge, checking the positions of the Allied ships. Each human pilot had improvised their own strategies, some acting as decoys, others coordinating daring attacks in the gaps between the Zyrith formations. Eli smiled. All right, everyone, time to show them what humans can really do. The first wave of Zyrith capital ships charged forward, expecting a straightforward battle. But humans did not fight in straight lines or predictable formations. Using the nebula's dense gas clouds as cover, Eli guided the Aegis in twisting, impossible patterns, creating ambush points and choke zones. Human pilots followed suit, weaving between asteroids and magnetic storms that distorted sensors, firing in bursts from unexpected angles. They cannot anticipate us, the Aegis said. Their calculations assume predictability. Humans defy that. Eli grinned. Exactly, let's keep them guessing. As they fought a massive Zyrith warship, the flagship closed in. It radiated energy like a dying star, its weapons capable of obliterating anything in a single shot. Eli felt a chill. This was the enemy's ace, the final obstacle between humans and survival. This ship is ancient, the Aegis said. Its tactics are fixed. It cannot adapt quickly. Eli's mind raced. They couldn't destroy it head-on, not with brute force. But humans didn't rely on brute force. They relied on creativity, improvisation, and courage. He plotted a daring maneuver. Using the nebula's gravitational anomalies, the Aegis would appear to retreat, drawing the flagship in. Then, at the perfect moment, they would strike from multiple directions, using speed and unpredictability to overwhelm a ship built to fight in rigid patterns. Risk extreme, the Aegis warned. Success requires perfect timing and coordination. Eli nodded. That's human risk, let's do it. The trap was set. Eli piloted the Aegis through the nebula, weaving in and out of dense clouds while projecting false energy signatures to confuse sensors. The Zyrith flagship took the bait, charging after them. Human ships followed Eli's lead, creating a spread of unpredictable movement that would have been impossible for a purely mechanical mind to predict. The flagship fired, its energy beams tearing chunks from the asteroid field. Explosions rocked the nebula, but Eli remained calm. He had trusted humans to think creatively and the Aegis to adapt instinctively. At the perfect moment, Eli twisted the Aegis into a sharp turn, using a gravity well to sling the ship around. The flagship overshot, leaving its weak points exposed. Allied human ships attacked from multiple angles, targeting energy conduits, shields, and weapon arrays. The flagship's defenses faltered under the combined, unpredictable assault. Eli smiled as the Aegis struck the final blow, a precision energy pulse, amplified by the ship's AI, that disabled the flagship completely. The Zyrith fleet faltered, their command structure broken, and they began to retreat in confusion. Victory probability high, the Aegis announced, its voice calm but proud. Eli exhaled. We did it! Humanity did it! The battle wasn't over, but the tide had turned. Human ingenuity, improvisation, and courage had triumphed over superior numbers and firepower. Colonists who had once feared the Zyrith now rallied, inspired by the impossible victory. Eli saw the spark of hope in their eyes, the same spark that had guided humans through millennia of hardship. Humans are remarkable, the Aegis said softly. You adapt, improvise, and endure. You are worthy of legacy. Eli felt a warmth in his chest. Legacy. That was what this battle was about, not just survival, but proving that humanity had a place in the galaxy. The Aegis had waited centuries for a human capable of understanding that truth. And now, Eli had awakened it fully. He spent the next hours coordinating recovery efforts. The human allies repaired their ships and gathered survivors from destroyed colonies. Eli watched as humans worked together, their creativity and determination solving problems that machines could not. Every moment reinforced the truth he had come to understand. Humans were unpredictable, resourceful, and resilient. But there was still work to do. The Zyrith would not forget this defeat. They would return, and when they did, humans would need to be ready. Eli knew that the Aegis was a powerful weapon, but it was humans. their courage, their creativity, and their ability to improvise, that would ultimately decide the future of the galaxy. Days later, as the fleet regrouped near a newly colonized system, Eli took the Aegis on a solitary flight through the stars. The nebula glowed behind him, a reminder of the chaos they had faced and overcome. He activated a holomap of the galaxy, tracing the paths humans had yet to explore. "The galaxy is vast," the Aegis said. "Potential for expansion, for survival, for influence, immense. Your species is capable of greatness if guided wisely." Eli nodded, staring at the stars. "We'll do more than survive, we'll thrive. And we'll prove that humans, small, fragile, unpredictable, can leave a mark that even ancient empires can't ignore." The ship pulsed gently under his hands, as if acknowledging the words. Together, they charted courses to unclaimed systems, scout missions, and hidden threats. Humans would not wait to be conquered. They would expand, explore, and challenge the galaxy itself. Eli realized that the stories of the Aegis were not just tales of past heroism. They were a warning and an invitation. Humans could inherit the galaxy, but only if they embraced the qualities that made them unique: ingenuity, courage, and unpredictability. For the first time, he allowed himself a smile. Humanity had been underestimated for too long, and now, with the Aegis and a fleet of determined humans, they were ready to take their place among the stars. "We've only just begun," Eli whispered, feeling the hum of the ship beneath him. "And the galaxy better watch out." As the Aegis accelerated into the unknown, Eli felt a deep sense of purpose. The legends had been true. The mythical ship had chosen him, not because of wealth or status, but because he embodied the human spirit, bold, curious, and unyielding. And with that spirit, humanity would not just survive, they would become a legend of their own. The stars stretched endlessly before them, full of danger, mystery, and opportunity. And Eli knew without a doubt that humans were ready to face it all. The galaxy had met its first true human legend, and it would not be the last.